Good evening, everybody. Hope y'all are happy so far. We have a couple minutes to jump on. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Say hi when you're on. We're going to have some fun with tissue paper and napkins tonight. Little collage action and fun stuff going on. Hey, Marpy. I'm glad you could join me tonight. Give it a few minutes. And tonight, I think I'm going to start with a flip through tonight just to give you guys some ideas on some things that we can do with tissue paper and napkins. And even if you've used some of those in your Bible or your art journaling before, it might give you some new ideas. Marpy, I saw your post. It's so awesome you finally jumped into your Bible. I'm so proud of you. It's awesome. All right, so I'm just giving it a minute. Like I said, I know people are probably finishing dinner and all sorts of stuff, and there's lots of other lives and different things going on. Everybody's busy. Hey, Cheryl. Hey, Mary Lynn. So I'm glad you guys could join me live. And like I said, if for the people that can't, I'm still happy if you can watch the replay, and hopefully you guys are learning things from our Thursday nights together so far. All right, so let's go ahead and get started because I don't want to delay it too long. For you guys that are on, who has used napkins and or tissue paper in their Bible journaling, or art journaling? Doesn't have to be in your Bible, just in some sense of sticking them in things to use them. Have y'all done that before? Cheryl, I can't remember. I don't think you've done that with me before. I'm trying to remember. I don't think we did that the last time we had a meetup. So anyway, I'm going to start. I have all this in the way just because I had to put it somewhere, and it looks prettier than a blank page when the video starts, to be honest. So I'm going to do a couple flip throughs of just some pages I've done using these. Yes, that's right, Mary Lynn. You're the one I sent the peacock to. I do remember. Matter of fact, I have yet to do my peacock page. I still have that napkin. I almost pulled it out tonight, but I have a couple other ideas that I'm going to roll with. One of these days, I'll have a peacock page. Hey, Shannon. Okay, that's right, Cheryl. We did stencils when we were together last. Okay, Marpy, you've used napkins before. Okay. So one thing I am going to do a little differently than a lot of people do is with our napkins, we're going to apply them with a glue stick. Okay, a lot of people show it with gesso, matte medium. You can certainly use those, but I'm going to show you how to do it with an Elmer's glue stick, and it works great. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the advantages of that, aside from glue sticks are easier to come by and a lot cheaper. Yes, girl, I have so many napkins, so I definitely can get you some napkins. And next time we're in person, we can do like a napkin swap, or in my case, I'll just do a napkin giveaway because they keep piling up. All right, so this is actually one of the first pages I did with a napkin. So this is 2 different napkins, just some acrylic paint splotched down with a paper towel in the background and a black pen. Yeah, Cheryl, I'm telling you, it's a game changer. It makes life so much easier. This is a napkin. Again, acrylic paint splashed on with a paper towel. It's one of my favorite things to do. And then just some stickers. I actually raided from my daughter's sticker stash. Napkin. I think this is watercolor in the background. And just a blue pen. So you can see how easy this makes it. Going back to our theory of everybody can do this. There's no special artist skill required. Right? Okay, and this one is a printed tissue paper. So if any of you guys have gotten packs from By the Well for God. This is the tissue paper she used to wrap them in. I don't know if she still does. And then I just took a metallic gel pen and added a little bit of color to it and added the sticker letters. So you can use printed tissue paper, so much fun, napkins. We're going to use plain color tissue paper like you use in a gift bag for some other projects. Yeah, gesso is a whole nother thing. The thing with gesso, when you put it on a napkin, it does work, but part of the problem is it gets the napkin so wet it becomes super fragile, and it gets more wrinkly. It's harder not to tear it, and also, quite frankly, gesso is just more expensive. So to use it to glue down a napkin is not my favorite use for it. That's just me. This is not a napkin, but this is a similar idea because it's just a collage done with a glue stick. These are little pieces of gel prints that I did, so they're just shapes cut out and glued down with a glue stick. So you don't have to use napkins and tissue paper. You can use scrapbook paper, all sorts of things, wrapping paper, anything can be stuck down in your Bible, whether you use it as a collage or just a picture of interest. Talk about super simple. It's just a napkin cut out and stamps. Shannon, I think you remember that if you're still on here. Okay, again, these are pieces of a napkin, so you don't have to use the whole napkin. You can just cut out the parts that you want. So I cut the pineapples out of napkins here. This is just stress oxide ink on the back. Let's make sure I'm still in the frame where y'all can see this. This is a page I did down with Justine's group down south of us. So this is a Thanksgiving-ish fall napkin. Again, splotched on paint with a paper towel. Super easy. Yes, absolutely. You can gel print the tissue paper, and we're going to talk about stamping and using the tissue paper for other things as well. Okay, so here's an example of just using the plain tissue paper. So like dollar store, what you would throw in a gift bag tissue paper that everybody has laying around, right? So you can cut it into shapes, you can glue it down, and the fun thing is it's semi-transparent, so you get that illusion of the colors overlapping each other, which is really fun. You can do almost like a stained glass type of effect, or all sorts of fun things. So we're going to play with that a little bit tonight. And I think I got one more. Okay. And again, same thing here. So this is part of a napkin that's been cut out, stuck on some pink watercolor background, a black pen, and done. Okay, so the other nice thing about using some of these tricks like the napkins and things like that is it's also a time saver. Okay, so skill, no skill, whatever your comfort level is, sometimes you just need a quick way to reflect and respond to what you were reading in the Word, and napkins are great for that. I forgot I got a couple more, y'all. Okay, so this is my hymnal. I don't think I've shown y'all this yet in this series. So I do have a hymnal that I journal in. These are great if you are able to get your hands on one. I love mine because it's got the Bible verses at the top with the hymns. I make copies of them and sometimes use those in mixed media pages or in my Bible, and then I can journal straight onto the hymn pages too. So this guy is a napkin. He's my little llama. And then this is also a napkin. So in this case, I actually cut out stars and stripes to spread it out and fit it on the page. And then did some writing and cut out some whatnot in there. Okay, so again, just some ideas. I hope y'all know when I'm doing the flip throughs, it's not really a hey, look at all the cool stuff I've done. It's more like, I hope this gives you some great ideas so you can go do cool stuff on your own that feel like you. So, llama. Okay, you can see in the comments, llama, llama, llama. Yeah, okay, and I have extra llamas, y'all. So, I'll just throw that out there. By the end of this, if anybody does not have printed napkins or does not have many printed napkins to use in their Bible journaling, I will be happy to send you some happy mail. So private message me if you would like some. I will send you a pack of napkins. If you want like specifically the llama. Hey Lori, can you hear me better? Thank you for telling me. I'm probably talking downward again. Is that any better? I tried to turn everything up. Y'all let me know. So anyway, if y'all want a llama, let me know. If you want some other assorted napkins and Happy Mail, let me know. Shoot me your address, or if you're somebody that I will see sometime soon, I will bring them to you. All right, so on that note, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, let me know. Can you hear me better? Haven't seen any comments since after that. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. The first thing I want to show you, I'm just gonna do this in my sketchbook to start with, and then we'll do a page in the Bible to give you guys some ideas on just how to layer these out, some little tricks. And the fun thing is you do what you want to do with them. Okay, so this is a big napkin. And the other thing is some napkins repeat, like some of them will spread out, some of them will repeat every panel. So keep in mind, even if you only have one napkin, you might only use a quarter of it. So then you can always share with other people or keep it to do another page or whatnot. So you don't really need a whole pack of napkins. So it is great to swap with people. There are like napkin swapping groups on Facebook. There's also, oops, sorry, camera jiggle. There are also groups and different sites where you can buy like a single napkin for like a quarter or 50 cents or whatnot, that sometimes have more special napkins than you might see. But Tuesday Morning, TJ Maxx, pretty much any place with pretty printed napkins, you're gonna find some cool stuff. And odds are, unless you're doing a lot of napkins pages, you're gonna have extras. So just kind of keep that in mind, and then you can feel free to share the fun with other people. All right, so first things first, I'm obviously only going to use part of this napkin on this page. So I'm going to cut out the part that I want. Lori, that's funny. Hey, whatever works. So I think I'm going to take this middle part. So I'm kind of just going to cut around. And this does not have to be like super duper fussy cut type of thing, because especially with the lighter backgrounds, it's going to blend right in to your page. But I'm really just kind of trying to cut off that other print so I don't have everything on here. So I do that first, and then the next thing you want to make sure you do is get the back plies off the napkins. So most napkins are going to be 2 or 3 ply. I don't think Tuesday Morning is, although they might be next week, because next week a lot of stores are able to open with smaller capacity, is what I saw, like 25% of their capacity and all that happy stuff. So I'm not sure who's going to start opening up with that. I haven't really seen all the details yet, but something to keep in mind. But yeah, I mean, even Publix, you know, when you're in the grocery store, everybody's got printed napkins. And like I said, anybody that wants some, I'll be happy to send you a few. I have quite the stash at this point. So you're going to turn it over. Now, a lot of times when you cut it, that right there will go ahead and split the plies. If it doesn't, what I usually do, we'll just rip like a little corner like that, and that will usually separate them easier for you. So if cutting doesn't split it, go ahead and rip it just on one little section and then peel that back. Okay, so I want to check now and make sure that that is the only ply. So like I said, some of them have 2 and some of them have 3. So I'm actually going to tear. Oh, believe me, you get used to it because you make pretty things with it, so it's okay. You're not destroying it, you're making it into something pretty. Okay, so you see how I tore that? Because that first one came off real easy, but there's another ply here. So by tearing it, that loosened up that edge, and we're not going to see all this, so don't worry about it. Okay, and we talked about things that we can do on tissue paper, like stamping and stenciling and painting and things like that. At the risk of sounding like a hoarder, you can save these thin little white plies of napkin and use them like you also would white tissue paper, or almost like a deli paper type of thing. So if you have big chunks of them, you can save them. We'll do something with that in a minute. All right. I'm just going to tear off a little bit of the edge up here so it doesn't look like one big rip. Okay. Okay, and so again, I don't have any big plans for this, y'all. So I'm just going to stick this one down. This is a big piece. I will say the bigger the piece that you're using, the slightly more careful you have to be with it because it's a little harder to get wrinkles out. So you have a choice at this point. You can either cover the back of the napkin in glue stick and stick it down, or if you have a big area like this that you're covering, you can just coat the whole thing in glue stick and stick this down. So it's up to you. If you're doing a smaller one, sometimes I'll just do the little piece. Let's see how this works. I got my big glue stick, so it might not be too bad. Okay. And the main thing is you want to get the whole thing covered. So no matter what you're adhering it down with, you want to make sure that it's all covered. Don't be stingy with your adhesive because you don't want big old air bubbles in there. Now, if you're using gesso or matte medium or a liquid of some sort, you can use a paintbrush to spread it on. Even though this is my purple glue stick, it's not terribly purple, so it's a little harder to see than it usually is. And again, it is fragile, so you still need to be gentle with it, but it is more durable. I gotta stick it with the glue stick than it is when you're using a full-on liquid like a gesso. But again, just my opinion, but for me, this is a game changer. I got to where it wasn't worth it to me to mess around with using gesso on a lot of napkins. It took all the fun out of it, so to speak. Oop, almost glued that down on my paper. Probably should have done that on my mat first, but anyway. Okay, so I'm just gonna line that up at the bottom, just where I want it, and gently spread it out. Keeping it nice and flat as I can. So again, the bigger the piece of napkin, so if you're covering a whole page with one napkin, it is going to be a little bit more challenging to keep it flat, but you can do it. Just smooth it out. So again, just keep that in mind, but you know, I could have just cut this one butterfly out if I wanted to. Again, you don't have to use the whole thing. And I don't mind if it gets a little wrinkled, but I can say this is definitely smoother than it would have been if I had put a liquid gesso or a matte medium on it. It would be more wrinkled right now. I'll just say that. Now, I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit of extra glue coming out the sides here, which will either rub off, especially as it dries, or if you need to, you can put a little baby powder or cornstarch on it if you end up with any sticky spots. Yes, you can absolutely put the glue on the page instead. So again, this is fairly rectangular, so it would be easy enough just to spread a big old rectangle and slap the napkin down on it. As I for smaller or like real irregular pieces, typically I'll do it on the back of that so I don't have all the extra glue on the page. But you kind of do whatever works for you, whatever feels better. Try them both, see what happens. It's all good. I think I'm going to take another one of these butterflies out and add it to my page. And again, you can tear it, you can cut it, you can use, some people like to use water, like a little water brush to wet where they want to tear it, so it kind of gives them that torn edge with a little bit of direction. It's really whatever you want to do with it. Right, and see, I don't have baby powder, so I typically go for cornstarch just because I always seem to have some in the kitchen. So again, I got the one ply, came off easily. And there's two reasons you want to make sure you get those plies off. One of them is because you want that little bit of transparency to the napkin, and the other thing is because whatever's on the back is what you're gluing. So if you glue the back ply and this one's not adhered over time, this would peel up easily and get air between that and the other layer. Okay, so like I can put him up here. So to your point, here this is kind of a sad glue stick. That's all right. And again, if you guys are used to using like a matte medium or something like that to collage, feel free. And the other thing about this, typically when I've seen tutorials that show putting the napkins down, they usually, after they've gessoed them, then they'll go over it with another layer of gesso or matte medium. You don't have to do that with this. So it's super soft as far as the texture, but it's also very smooth and flat. So you can write on it, stamp on it, do whatever you want to do with it and not have to worry about putting another coat on it. You certainly can if you want to, but you don't have to. Okay, so that is that. As far as, this is not anything special at this point. We're just playing. So now I'm going to take my little scrap piece here. Okay, the baby powder, she's saying, sometimes if you get this little bit of glue with whatever you're using, but if you end up with glue that doesn't dry up or rub off, you can use the baby powder to rub over it, and that'll take away the stickiness. I was telling her I also use cornstarch. So they both kind of work the same, depends on what you have handy. So I'm going to move this up a little bit. Let me see. Actually, let me just grab my mat. Since this is so thin, it's probably going to stamp straight through it. So I've got my little piece of the back of my napkin, and I've got some Stays On ink. So let's grab a couple stamps. I did not grab too many of them. Let's see. I have this texture stamp, and I got a cross stamp. I'll just use them both. Let's see what happens. And of course you could stencil on these, you can jelly print on these. It's going to be the same as a tissue paper. So like I said, if you have it laying around, there's no need to waste it. And we're going to talk hopefully in the next ones about some collage. Collage options and some mixed media stuff that I've been playing with. So again, kind of think along those lines. There's like a little honeycomb. Let's see. And you could paint or stencil on these, but this is going to dry faster, so I think I'm just going to stick with the stamping. You do want to use a waterproof ink when you're doing this, because obviously the glue or whatever adhesive you use is going to get it kind of wet. You don't want it bleeding everywhere. Okay, so just again, these are just examples. Now this is where the glue stick is still going to work. However, if you want the white part to be super transparent, you may get better results with the matte medium or clear gesso. But you know what? I'm good with the glue stick. So let's see. I'm just going to rip some of this. I don't want it to be terribly regular. Oops. You like the way the Stays On ink smells? I'm not sure about that. Let's see. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to use a glue stick on one, and then I'm going to do the honeycomb and use some matte medium on it, and we're going to see which one we like best. What do y'all think? Okay. Again, this is just playing right now. And I certainly could have gotten closer to the edges here if I wanted to. But part of this is I kind of want to see how much we can see through it. Okay, so it's not fully transparent, but it's going to be partially transparent. So if you're painting or something under there, then that paint color is going to show through. Another trick, I actually didn't get any in these, so I didn't show it. You can use one of these like plastic gift cards if you have air bubbles when your glue is wet, and spread it out. So if you do see air bubbles, you want to get those out while the glue is still wet and everything hasn't dried up. All right, so I'm kind of digging that. Let me grab my matte medium and let's just compare it real quick. And then we're going to play with some tissue paper and then do a page, at least one page, that looks like it was meant to go together. How about that? All right. So in this case, I did not grab a brush for the matte medium, so I'm just going to use my finger. So let's see. I'm going to put this down here. I'm covering up part of my pretty flowers, but that's all right. Okay, because part of the reason I wanted to see how transparent it is, so I want to put it over something with some color. Yeah, a brayer is great too because it rolls over it. Okay, so truthfully, I don't know. I don't know that that is that much more transparent than with the glue stick. And again, this is only if you're wanting to see, like, make it super transparent through the layers there. Now you could come back in and wet this down a little bit with a matte medium after it was down too. See if that does anything. Okay, and that almost makes it dissolve a little bit more into, so I might be more inclined to do it that way, is to glue it down and then rub the matte medium over the top where I want it to go a little clearer. Yeah. Okay. I think that's the trick. I don't think it's what's on the bottom. I think it's what you put on the top that makes it, you see how it's kind of dissolving more into that background? Okay. So again, it's just an option, something to play with, but it's a great alternative to like clear sticker paper and things like that that can be kind of pricier and hard to get. And then you have to print it on your computer, and it's just a whole nother thing. So if you have stamps and things like that you like to play with, but you want to be able to position them where you want them and put them on like a sticker, the back of the napkins are free. And white tissue paper, obviously super cheap and easy to get to. So that's just an option. Deli paper is another great option that'll do something similar. Okay, so that is kind of the deal with the napkins. And then I want to do a quick sample with the colored tissue paper. So there's a couple, well, there's lots of things we can do with it. A couple quick and easy things that we can do with it. And again, I'm going to put this on my glue stick. Now I've got, this is just a pack of like the rainbow colored paper from the dollar store. What I'm going to do, grab the corners here and just cut some chunks off. Okay. And cut some of those smaller, maybe at an angle. So these are not any particular shape. So then what you can do, and this time you definitely do want to just glue stick your page where you want them to go. This would help if it was more purple. I don't know what's going on with that, but whatever. Like you do, some of your kids have done this for crafts. You can start sticking down those little pieces, almost like a stained glass effect. It's like we did the stained glass effect the other week with the watercolor and the washi tape. So where there's an overlapping, I need to put a little bit more glue. So this is another fun way to make a stained glass look. Again, super fun background that you can use on anything. And it's definitely okay to overlap. I personally prefer them that way because you get the added colors and the transparency going on there. My fingers are sticking together. Okay. Eee. Some has glitter on it. Cheryl, you can print on just a portion of the sticker paper, but what I find is if you print on a portion of it, trying to get it lined up to either print on the other portion, or once you cut it, it's going to be difficult to get back through your feeder. And that's what I've found. There may be some tricks to that. I don't use a lot of printables. But that would be my concern, is like you could print part of one printable on one if they were small and like turn it and put it back through the feeder to print something else maybe, but once you start cutting into it, I think you'd have a problem getting like part of a piece of sticker paper through the printer. But I could be wrong, so anybody who knows more about that, please feel free to chime in. And we're not doing the whole page in this, y'all. This is just just an idea. So again, you can do you do any colors, any pattern that you want. You could come over it with a paint pen or a Sharpie or whatever. Not a Sharpie in your Bible pages unless it's no bleed. But other than that, any kind of black pen or paint pen, you could make lines if you wanted to. Or you could just leave it like that because I think it looks kind of cool. And again, we could just you could do part of a page like this, or you could do like a whole page or like a whole column if you have a journaling Bible that's just got columns in it. You could certainly fill up a column like that. So it's up to you. So I'm gonna leave that part, and down here, we're gonna do something similar to one of the pages I showed you. So again, super simple. I'm gonna grab some yellow and some pink and some green. Okay. And I don't need these big pieces, so I'm just gonna cut them down to size. My green floated away, so hold on just a second. There it is. Okay. So all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make, you could do hearts out of these and overlap them. You could do flowers. What would y'all rather see, hearts or flowers? Let me know. I'm gonna have a sip of tea. Anyone? Anyone have a preference? There you go. And it actually isn't like really glitter. It's that embedded sparkle. It's not like the loose glitter, but yeah. Whatever's easier. Okay. So yeah, I'll do a heart. Some hearts. What's that? I have the tulip page, and it's the same thing. That tulip page that I showed you guys, same idea. You just cut out ovals for the petals, and then long, skinny, sticky shapes for the stems and leaves, and that's it. All right, so, and again, I could do this on the back of the tissue paper, but I'll just glue it down here. And of course, I mean, you could just use this like construction paper to glue down, but the reason I like this with the tissue paper is I like to be able to overlap it, like I was saying, and where you get that see-through look. Almost like if you were doing watercolor. If you were to overlap a pink heart and a yellow heart, you would get an orangey color maybe, where they overlap. So you see how you get that like nice semi-transparent thing going on there? That's what I'm looking for. Yellow, of course, is going to show more if there's wrinkles. I just press it out. Tissue presses out pretty easily with your fingers, but you could use a brayer or a card, like we talked about. It is a little bit, let's say, more durable. Doesn't seem to be quite as fragile as napkins, if that makes sense. Okay, so see how that, no, it's not stuck down, it's wet. See, I shouldn't have said that, y'all. No, there I go ripping it. Oh well. I should not have said anything. Got a broken heart. That's alright. It's just got a little peek hole now. We'll call it a highlight. Okay. So scratch the part about them being fragile. If they're super sticky with glue, you can still rip them. Oh, you have a hard time. Okay, so if you're doing a heart or anything symmetrical, fold it in half, but you can always pencil it and open it back up and see if that's what you want. Same thing with the flowers. If you're doing a flower, I'll just do one real quick. Okay, the easiest way to do it is to fold your tissue paper a few times so that you only have to cut one shape and you get enough petals for the whole flower. Nobody wants to cut a bunch of petals separately. Okay, fold it like that. I'm just going to cut like an oval or an egg shape. Now the thing about flowers, remember they're not super symmetrical and perfect in nature, right? So it's okay if this doesn't come out super symmetric and perfect. And I'm not really worried about the petals being the same. I just don't want to cut a whole bunch of them out individually, to be totally honest. Okay, so look, now I have flower petals. Okay. Let's see, we'll make it a center. We'll just do the flower too. How about that? And I don't really need more than one center because I'm not doing more than one flower, but it's not going to hurt it. I'll end up with two. Okay. My fingers are sticky. Everything's sticking to them. Let's put our center down right there. Again, not perfect circle here. We are not trying to go for that. Okay. Now this time I am going to, because these are smaller, I'm going to hold it down and just glue the tissue paper. So this is probably more like a daisy type of flower. The ones I showed you were tulips. It just depends on where you put the shapes. You can make anything you want. Yes, absolutely, you could use punches. I don't know how well tissue paper will punch. That would be the only thing. You might end up with it clogged up in your punch. So be careful of that unless you can like layer it maybe on top of something else and punch it. But again, these are not difficult shapes that I'm using here. See, and that one apparently got killed at some point. And ideally, I would do that glue on a plastic mat to make it easier to pick up and not stick to the book, but not really worried about it right now. See, that's perfect. I have 5 petals. Okay. And again, if I wanted to come back and overlap either with the same color, and I could overlap it and make part of them look darker, I could come back with a red or yellow or orange or something along those lines. I could definitely like overlap it and give it more dimension. But again, this is just to kind of give y'all ideas and then let you jump off with them into your own direction. This is not, when I'm doing these, it's not really about like everybody doing the same page all together. I really just want to encourage you and give you the tools and the ability and the encouragement to try some new things and then make them work for kind of what your vision is, instead of us all trying to do the same thing all together. So I'm just going to grab some green, little piece of green, and this is also great, again, with not throwing things away. But again, if you have scraps of tissue paper, don't worry about if it's been wrinkled and somebody gave it to you in a gift bag. It's all going to work. If it is wrinkled and it goes on wrinkled, that's fun too, because it gives you extra texture. It's like it's really kind of all a win-win. And again, you can come back and draw on these. You could paint on top of them, which would be super fun. You could come back and doodle on them. You could paint over them. You could stencil or stamp on them to give them some extra fun and texture. So sky's the limit. Like, this does not have to be the end of it. Or you can be like, hey, I'm done. I made a flower or a heart or a stained glass page. It looks good and I'm over it. Whatever works. So I'm going to overlap these a little bit. I love that. See how like that makes it darker in the middle, so you can see how they overlap. And I mean, you could make a stem, you could do whatever you want to do. Either way. Okay, so that's making a shadow. Sorry, y'all. So we got stained glass with tissue paper. We have overlapping hearts with tissue paper, flowers with tissue paper, all done on with a glue stick. And again, if you prefer to use matte medium or something like that, clear gesso, absolutely fine. But the Elmer's glue stick works great. That's really my point with that. So let me flip back to that one page just so you guys can see that tulip page again. Because it really is the same exact shapes with the positioned differently to make tulips. Bear with me. I had it marked and I took it out when I showed it to you. Okay, it's in Romans. It took me a minute to remember. Okay, so see, same thing as the daisy petals. I just cut out a bunch of ovals, but if you position them in threes like this, then it looks more like a tulip. Same exact thing. And instead of making rounder leaves, I made long strips and made them stems and leaves. Okay, so the same idea, put it on a different way, turns into a whole other thing. So is this helping you guys? Give me some feedback. Let me know if this is something that you'll want to try, something that you're going to do something with. Dun, dun. Okay. I'm going to put that away and grab my Bible. All right, Cheryl. Yeah, I can't wait to see what you do. So make sure, tag me if you guys post anything that you do with these. Yes, no two flowers are the same. Just a beautiful thing. So again, give yourself some grace. Let yourself play with this. It is, that was the wrong Bible. Sorry, guys. They both look alike. And just let yourself play, because that really is part of the joy in Bible journaling or art journaling. In all of this is the joy that comes from just not worrying about being perfect, not worrying about your end product, but just creating in worship, letting God speak to you, letting Him bring you that joy through creating, and just embracing that. Okay, so with that being said, I am going to do a page. Let me scoot this over because now you can't see the part that we're going to use. Sorry, I'll bear with me. I have to look at my iPad to see if we're in the frame or not. Okay, there we go. So y'all can see the back side of this, it didn't bleed through, but it's got a heavy shadow from my watercolor, so that's what's on the back side. So, matter of fact, this is a perfect page to do a napkin on because the napkin is going to cover that up. There's nothing wrong with what's there, but that'll just make it nicer. So I'm going to grab my scissors, and I've got this really pretty napkin. It says live, laugh, and love. And I'm putting this in Psalm 126. And verse 2 says, then our mouth was filled with laughter and our tongue with shouts of joy. And they said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are glad. So God wants us to laugh. Okay? Laughter is the best medicine. That is a biblical truth. God tells us that. He wants us to be joyful. He wants us to laugh. Obviously, He wants us to love. So even though this isn't like Hobby Lobby Christian Bible verse napkin, it fits perfectly with this verse. If I use a different medium on the page, would it reactivate the other side? No, it really wouldn't. These are, if I got it terribly like sopping wet, it might reactivate them a little bit. This is, these are watercolor scribble sticks over here. The ink I use is permanent, so the letters would not blur. I haven't had a problem doing watercolor on both sides of the paper. Like I said, if I really saturated that page and soaked it down, maybe. But I haven't had that as an issue. So it's not that it couldn't happen, but it hasn't happened yet. I can leave it at that. Now, acrylic or anything like that, I would definitely not anticipate it being a problem. So yeah, that's another great thing is slap some acrylic paint on if you have a shadowed page like that, and each side will stay to itself. So again, I'm just going to tear this napkin just a tad down the side because even though I cut it, I'm not able to get that edge loose. So some napkins are more tightly stuck together than others. Again, you just want to gently go around the edges, and especially on the edges where they're kind of crimped. It takes a little bit more to get them apart, and then once you get going, you can pull the whole section apart. Okay, so in this case, it was just a 2-ply napkin, and you can see how see-through it is, so you know there's not like another ply hanging out there anywhere. I'm just going to cut a little bit of this white off just because it's getting a little big for this page. I don't want to run into... Okay. So this is going to be most of the page right here. And let me grab an eraser because since it is so transparent, I can actually see my little pencil notes that I write. And sometimes when I don't have time to come back to something, I will make a pencil note on what I'm going to do there. Or even better, a lot of times I'll do a post-it. And now I can't find an eraser. Let's see. Ha. Okay, so I'm just going to erase that real quick. If this was a darker colored napkin, I wouldn't worry about it. But as soon as I laid it down, before I even stuck it, I could see those words coming through. And then what I'm going to do is accent it. Now you could just do the napkin and be done. I like to usually add a little bit more background. So what I may do is like paint some extra little roses or some little somethings on there. So let's see. So yes, this thing takes up almost the whole page. So I am going to glue stick most of the page, and then I'll hit the edges when I put the napkin down. Oops, wrinklage. Again, I'm not trying to line this up with the bottom or anything. I'm trying to kind of sort of center it. Okay, and I can actually still see a little bit of the lettering. That doesn't bother me. If that's something that would bother you, you could layer down some cream color acrylic paint before you did this. I know the Walmart brand, there's a color called like antique parchment or something like that that is pretty much Bible page color. So that is great to have kind of in your little toolkit, so to speak. Anytime you kind of need to either cover a mistake up, or I said just have a fresh page to start on if you've done another page behind it. It's a great way to do it. And again, acrylic doesn't bleed through. Smoothing those out with my fingernail. I missed some spots on here. I was trying not to get too carried away and get too much extra glue going on here. So I'm having to go do the edges, but that's all right. It's still probably easier than trying to glue stick the whole. See, I'm just gently checking around my edges to make sure they're down, because it's a lot easier to glue them down now than to have them start peeling up after you start doing other things on your page. All right. So everybody looks pretty secure now. And again, pretty smooth. Don't have a bunch of wrinkles. I'm pretty happy with that. Hey, Angie. No worries, girl. You can catch the beginning on the replay. We just were playing in the sketchbook with some tissue paper and napkins. And I just put this napkin down. We're in Psalm 126:2, and we're going to do some paint on top of it. Okay, so let me scroll back real quick. Cheryl said, do you put whatever I do you have for that page on the notes too? Sometimes if I have an idea pop in my head, I always have a pencil with me. So I do like take my Bible to church and everything, so I'll just like scratch a note and pencil what's going to go on that page. If I can, I like to have the little post-it flags. Y'all can see I have some sticking out the top here. A lot of times when I either have an idea like that and I can't do the journaling right then for whatever reason, I'll do it on a post-it flag. which I can't fit as much on there as far as a note, but it's easier for me to find it to come back to. So then when I have extra time to journal, I can jump right into it and I know exactly where to head. Okay, let me get me some paint. We're just gonna add a little extra paint to this because it's fun. We've got a green, and this again is just that cheap acrylic paint like they have at Walmart, they have it at Michael's. Whatever you have is fine, nothing fancy. I'm just looking for a pretty color for some roses. So I have a pink color. We could do that maybe. Can see if I have like maybe a coral color. There's a red. And I really didn't completely have this planned out, so you'll bear with me. Sometimes this is a spur of the moment thing. Okay, so I kind of picked out some colors I have that look similar to that napkin, and we're just gonna go with that. Let me see if I have a dark green going at it. Ah, no, greenish. Nope, that's metallic. Okay. I really prefer to have, there it is, 2 different shades of things, at least when I'm doing these. Anything like this, I think it just gives it more depth. Yeah, absolutely, Mark. You can take notes on anything that's handy. And if you see, a lot of times when I do my flip throughs, this one actually does. A lot of times I write like notes as far as sermon notes, or things that pop into my head, things that God's speaking to me. I'll write those over here, so where the actual text is, since this isn't interleaved, and then I'll pencil in or make a post-it about an idea to journal for that page. Or sometimes I'll just sketch. I mean, there might be a stick figure there just showing me what I had in mind at the time. Squirt a little bit of that out. Okay, so I've got a kind of peachy coral color. And you can pick whatever colors you want. I just like to kind of mirror what's, since we already have some flowers going on here, I'm trying to mirror that a little bit. Ooh, that was exciting. It's a little pink. And hey, Andrea. I'm glad you could pop on. And a little red, and that's kind of pinkish red, so I think that'll work. I don't want it to be like a super bright red or anything. Okay, so bonus, we're gonna paint some flowers. Wasn't part of the original plan, but that's okay. Super easy acrylic flowers, because they also mirror this same style. So I'm not trying to copy it exactly, I'm just trying to kind of pick up, let me grab some white. Just to kind of give it an idea and pop in something besides just a napkin that's already there. And typically what I will do is to grab, a lot of times I'll grab more than one color when I start. So like I'm gonna grab some pink and some white. And make like a C. And then a C going the other way. And this is just one way to do it. You make your flowers any way you want. And then you're gonna keep getting a little wider and spacing them out. With your brush, when you start, if you have a very light hand, this is a round brush that's kind of pointy at the tip. It'll be smaller at the tip, and then you can press down to make it wider and pull up. And that gives you kind of that nice curved shape. Let's fill that in a little bit. Okay. And then you just alternate the spacing on these so they're not like stacked on top of each other. My fingers are still sticky though. The pages are sticking to them. Okay. And you see how there's like a little variance already just because I picked up 2 colors of paint. So I don't have to work as hard to make that look. different. And I can come back though, I can come back with some darker pink here. You can come back and play with it and fill it in the way you like. But that's just a start. Okay, and I probably will come back with a little, maybe a darker red in there. But I'm going to go ahead and do those where I want them. I'll do one here. I'm just reading y'all's comments real quick. Okay. So again, these are pretty much just, these could be like roses or peonies or camellias or whatever. Your own imaginary flowers. It's a fun thing about painting is they don't all have to be realistic. Do whatever you want them to be. This is going to be a smaller flower. And again, I'll probably come back to these and add a little highlights. But picking up that double color again is going to give you some more variation. So now I'm going to pick up some red. Go over here. Got some red, got some pink. Not sure if y'all can hear that in the background, but just in case you can, that's my dog licking her feet. She has allergies. She's not real happy that the grass is fresh cut right now. They make her feet itch. Make that kind of go behind that leaf. This one can kind of run off the page. And again, depending on what kind of paint you use too, will depend on how thick, how transparent it is. You might have to come over it for an extra layer, especially with the craft paint, because it's kind of thin. But I don't mind that, and sometimes I like leaving it just a little bit kind of how it is. Come back with some pink. So like I said, you can let that dry a little bit though, and then come back with some details kind of in between these. Right, so I'm just going to kind of wipe a little bit of that off. I'm not going to worry about cleaning it, because these are all in the same family. And grab my little coral color here and add a little touch of a flower here. Again, I'm not going to, this one can kind of run off the page a little bit. That's pretty if you add the pink to it too. Coral, got some pink. Again, if you look at flowers, a lot of times they are variegated. They're not like one solid color. Okay. I like that color. I think that's very pretty. I'll do one down here. I'm also going to do some greenery, so I'm not going to fill everything up with flowers. But they are kind of pretty and they're colorful. And it also, for me, it kind of ties in where I have a border of the napkin. It extends it instead of just making that harsh edge by adding some paint, whether it's just smushing a background on with a paper towel, like I showed you guys earlier, or extending whatever the image is on the napkin. It spreads it out on the page more. Yep, y'all know I love my early Bible. I have not been real shy about that, but I do love having the extra space. But you know, the other thing is, honestly, in the meantime, if you don't have the room that you like in your regular journaling Bible, is just grab a mixed media sketchbook and use that in the meantime. And then you can get used to using that whole page. And it is different, but the other thing is keep an eye on them on Amazon and christianbook.com if you're looking for one, because they do run some really good sales every now and then. So let's see, I think I'm gonna add some red. And again, y'all can tell I'm not cleaning my brush. So there's a little extra added variation there. It's kind of pretty, I think. Because these are all in the same color family, that is not a problem. They're not going to get all weird and muddy. Okay, so this is what I would call a sea flower because it's made with a bunch of seas. Okay. So yeah, I can go back in and add some details to these, especially as they start to dry a little bit so they don't get too mushy. Then we'll add some greenery. Yeah, let's add some over here. And if you want to add more of like the doodle type look to it, you could certainly go through here with some doodle lines. That is another really easy way to make flowers. We can talk about the easiest way to make flowers is take some paint, like we've done with our doodle birds, if y'all watch that, and just make a splotch. And then either with another color paint, like a white, or a paint pen, or an ink pen, kind of just do like a little spiral, like a little cinnamon roll almost. Okay, so you can do that with paint, or as I said, you could do it with like a black ink pen if you want more of a doodly look. That's a great way to do it. I'm just going to come in here with some, not like too much of a gap between those petals. Let's see who else needs some white. I like this guy down here. I'm going to add too much white to him. And also remember with acrylic it'll cover itself up, so if you do something that you don't like, you can paint right over it. I'm okay with everybody so far on my little flowers, but it's nice to have the option. It's a little bit more freedom when you're doing all this stuff. You don't have to worry about it too much. A little pink. Okay. It's the only thing, you can sit here and fiddle with these things like forever. Or I can anyway. All right. All right, so I think I'm good on that. I'm gonna add some greenery. I almost put my water brush in my tea. You know what, let me do a quick, let me add a couple more of these splotches and we'll play with them in a second when they're dry. While I got my brush out. Switch to greenery. Okay, and this is fun because as I said, take cues from what you already have. So you see there's like 2, 3, 4 different leaf shapes in here. Pick whatever you want or do something totally different. It doesn't matter. But just as a good example, so we've got these little stick guys with the little berry dot looking things on them, right? So line with some lines and some dots, right? And that's all it is. You can do the same thing again with a pen if you're doing doodles. Now, if you want to make leaves, super easy to make leaves. Again, I'm using a round brush, so it's fuller here and it goes to the tip. You know, it doesn't need to be an expensive one. And again, I'm going to grab 2 colors of paint. So I got my light green and I got my dark green all in one paint. Let me pull this out for a minute so I can show y'all. Now look when I press this down. It automatically is going to come up with a leaf shape. So if you want like small leaves, right? Just use your brush to its advantage. So round brushes are great for this. This is also a great way to make flower petals. Okay, I'm totally getting off. We're doing napkins and tissue paper, and now we're painting flowers and leaves, but that's all right. Same thing, flower, flower. And again, I've got those 2 colors, so it's one blop, but I'm getting a variation on my color. Okay, and then I could let that dry a minute, put some little yellow or orange dots in the middle, whatever. Yeah, Cheryl, you can definitely do this. Like, for real, when I'm talking about things that anybody can do that. You literally, in that case, all you're doing is pressing the brush down. And not real hard, just press it down and lift it up. Let's get some greenery going on here. And again, so my stem or vine or whatever it is probably gonna be more dark with a little bit of light. That's what I'm gonna use to kind of fill in some of this space here. It doesn't have to all be filled in. I just like it to look more complete, like it didn't just stop at the edge of the napkin. Okay, and I'm gonna grab some more light green with that darker green. And again, it looks different than the napkin, but still has the same vibe to it. So as much as I like the doodly look, because the napkin already has that soft look to it, I'm kind of just sticking with that so it's all kind of a cohesive look. Right? And of course, if you want a bigger leaf, paint a bigger leaf. But again, use the brush to your advantage. Don't worry about trying to outline something and fill it in. Start narrow at the point where the leaf would be and push it down and pull up. And the same thing here. So start back at the point, push down, and pull up. Okay. And see how it's got that real pretty variation because it has the light green and the dark green without me putting a lot of effort into it. Some of these flowers might have bigger leaves. You might have some little like stem things going on. Okay. Okay, so I think I've almost forgotten about this top up here. It's looking kind of empty. And again, you just use a real light touch if you want to use the same brush to make a line with the point of it. And you can push down more to get that leaf shape. why I have paper behind it, so I can go off the edge. More light green and dark green. I'll do some more of these like little blobs. Just to tie that in a little more. A leaf up here. And you can overlap the napkin. That paint is not going to mess with the napkin at all. Again, to me that gives it more of a blended look where you don't look like you just plopped a napkin on a page. There's nothing wrong with that, but just my personal thing. If you can kind of pull it together, it looks a little nicer. And it gives you more time. Like I said, you can sit here, and this is pretty much just mindless splotching to a point and just meditate on the verse that you've read, on what God's speaking through to you through it, and what the imagery is. Like, there are people who have flowers all over their Bible, and to them that may represent joy or just happiness of being there. We all have different imagery that works for us. So whatever you're doing on your page, it's all about what works for you. Okay, so I think that's about as much as we're getting on there. Just put a couple more little lines, little swooshes in here. Well, then don't be afraid to run off the page. And that's what gives it more of a flow instead of just looking like it was just splotched in the middle somewhere. Yeah, this rose down here, or whatever it is. Let me give him some. Extra green paint. So again, this is on top of the napkin. It's not hurting anything. I didn't put anything on top of the napkin. It's just glued down on the bottom. Okay. So again, I had that extra blank space here. I wanted to fill some of it in. And for me, again, I might, in a little micron pen, jot a little bit of journaling in here. Probably not a whole lot, since I've already got those words there. And again, I've got my verse over here, which is 126:2 in Psalms. And I do already have it underlined. I don't really want to put acrylic paint on it. I may come back with a colored pencil in a similar color and do something with that. Just to tie in the colors. I like to do that sometimes, is highlight with a colored pencil. And that way, because I can see I have underlined multiple verses from when I've been reading it, and so that way I know that that's the verse that kind of ties in over here. I'm going to grab just a little bit more color, because I got one that's just needs a little bit more attention. Not a lot, just a little. Well, I got my paint out and it's nice and wet. Nothing worse than realizing that you need to touch something up and the paint's already dry and hardened up. Okay. Okay, so last thing, super quick. Oh, I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I do try not to be too long-winded, but truthfully, this is these lives have been kind of made to mirror a 4-week class session that I've done a few times. And so in those classes, I really do try and cram in a lot of information, because again, my purpose is not so much like a regular tutorial video where we just show one method. It really is to equip you to jump in and be able to do all sorts of things with whatever we just talked about. So like when we learned about acrylic paint, that enables you to go do all sorts of things with acrylic paint and not just one type of page. Like with napkins, you can do a ton of different things with napkins. Okay, looking for a pen. Let's see which one of these works better. So these are the illustrated faith pens. I just wanted to show you, that was with the paint, doing the little swirly. Or I could take my pen and make more of a doodle flower. When you do these, feel free to go outside of the paint lines. Or you could do less. Now that would look cuter if I had painted some green splotches to go with it, but you know, it is what it is. This one's dry, so I could even doodle line this. So again, it gives it a whole nother look. Okay, so it just depends on what you're going for. I could come around and add lines here if I wanted to. It's not really dry, but that's all right. So again, this look is different than this look. And neither one of them is right or wrong. It's just a matter of what you want to play with at the time. Same thing over here. Now I could come in and just add like a little center in my flower there with a black pen or a paint pen. You can do a whole vine of these flowers and leaves with just that one brush stroke and fill up the whole page if you wanted to. So a couple little extra tricks there. Like I said, we started talking about tissue paper and napkins and ended up painting flowers and leaves, but that's all good. I hope you guys enjoy this. And you can see, just for a record, this is almost already dry. Like I've got a couple places where I splotched those leaves a little heavier. Those little spots are wet, but other than that, like these flowers are dry. So again, it's just another reason I really like acrylic paint because it dries super quick. But you know what? Yeah, Cheryl, that's a good point. This is not the first time I've painted a flower like this. So practice it. And the other thing is, what I notice is when I first do them and they look like those little C's, I don't like them as much until I come back in and fill in some of the gaps with like another color or some white or something. So don't be afraid to keep playing with it. The other thing is there's also, so you got to see, let's see, I'm just doing this with a pen. So again, that's our little C flower. The big thing is to alternate the spacing on it so they don't look like a whole bunch of things are stacked up. I did not do so great on that. And you can make it as big as you want. But as you get bigger, make sure that your curves are also getting bigger. Okay. So yeah, so just play with it. But don't be afraid to use 2 or 3 colors. Don't be afraid to come through and do it the first time and then go back and add some. And be like, oh, that doesn't look so great. Add some more paint. Add another color. Add a little bit of white. When in doubt, paint over and start over. And that's okay too. But practice does make a difference in just the comfort level of using a paintbrush if you're not used to it. Same thing with these guys. You can just sit there on a piece of paper and practice making leaves and flowers, I said, with a light touch down and then push and then pull up. Or just kind of the splotching if you want to go for the smaller leaf and smaller flower petal. So just practice it and have fun with it. See what kind of different effects you can get. Again, I really think using more than one shade or more than one color is a huge game changer in giving it some more depth without having to put a whole lot of work into it. Don't be afraid to get plenty of paint on the paintbrush. And like I said, especially with the flowers more so, usually when you're doing these kind of splotchy things, there's plenty of paint coming down. But on some of these, you know, you might have to come in if it's too light and add another layer because it's too transparent. That's okay. So yeah, so that's it. We did napkins, we did tissue paper, and we painted flowers and leaves. So does anybody have any more questions? I'll hang out for another minute. I'm not sure what my schedule looks like for next week yet, so we will definitely do another one of these. I'm not sure if it'll be next Thursday, so keep an eye out if you guys want to do another one. I know Beth Ann had requested something with stencils. If anybody else has any requests, let me know. I've got a couple ideas floating around as well. So feel free to let me know what you might like to see, if there's anything specific, or you're like, hey, how do they do that? If I don't know, I'll find out. Oh, good, Marpy, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. So yeah, does anybody have any questions, comments? I said keep your eyes open on the page. I will announce what's going on next, and if it will be next Thursday or another time. So yeah. All right, we all have a wonderful evening. I said feel free to, if you have anybody that would like to see this or see any of the other videos, they're under the videos tab on my page. It's public, so they don't have to join anything. They don't have to be my friend. Everybody can see it. I think if you're on a device, if it doesn't say videos, look under photos, and they should be in there to be able to see the videos. And I'll pin this one to the top of the page since it's the newest one. Ah, okay, so top 10 favorite products, that would be a good one. So I have to start writing things down because I got more ideas. Okay, so stencils and top products. Okay, anybody else want to chime in before I sign off? I will throw out there, I'm definitely thinking about doing something with washi tape, although I do have a YouTube video on washi tape collage, so if you guys are interested in that in the meantime, I do have a YouTube video on that. That's pretty cool. That did not sound terribly humble, but I think it's cool. And maybe some like mixed media type collage, so that could be coming too, or we might even combine it with the stencils. So, all right, so I will see you guys soon. I will post when our next one will be, so keep your eyes out. I try and tag people or invite people, but sometimes it doesn't get everybody, so I said keep your eyes open or just shoot me a message if you don't see anything. Okay, so y'all have mountains of washi tape. That's the other thing, is I'm trying to stick with things that everybody has kind of sitting around. So if y'all have piles of washi tape, we can work some washi tape. Have y'all seen, Cheryl or Marpy, have y'all seen the washi tape video I did yet? If not, I can post a link to that too. Because if we do washi, we'll do something different. I won't do like a total repeat. So I will post the link for that if you guys are interested. And other than that, have a good night. Thank you for joining me and spending time with me. All right, no, I appreciate every time you share. And listen, it really, obviously I'm not selling anything or making money or anything off of these, but I really do have a heart to share it. So I'm happy to make it available to share. So y'all keep sharing it with your friends. It's not about how many followers you have. Honestly, if it just touches one person and encourages them to get in God's word, then it was worth sharing, right? All right. Well, y'all have a good night. I'll see you soon. Bye.